So you want me to unpack my entire marketing strategy for other people to steal? Fine, let's go there. What works for me best and fastest?
Yes.
Right.
What's an example of a hard sell that you should not do?
Unresearched sales is just a dumb idea. Facebook, LinkedIn, people doing immediate outreach is really annoying. Selling at me hard out is really annoying. A lot of the stuff that we see about marketing is from Reels and TikToks and kind of high performance, high spend marketers who are selling marketing programs, and they're bullshitting us. They are training us to believe that all you need to do is do X, Y, and Z and get a viral reel, and then you'll get this magical, mythical payday. And the truth is, I know 6 people who've had viral videos this year. I've had 3.5 million views on a video who have had 0 financial return.
You talk about yourself as a shoestring marketer, marketing consultant, trainer, coach who loves to bring huge results for teeny budgets. I mean, how teeny are we talking?
So, I have a website. Website costs $9 a month. Don't buy another $10,000 website.
Let's talk about workshops.
They're one of my favorite ways of marketing. Strap in, because there's a lot. Those people who don't buy are not tire kickers. They are probably your next best referral. We're dealing with emotional creatures and we think that they're logical. How does it feel to know that you have got control of your business for once? How does it feel to know that your bills are paid on time? What does that mean to you as a business owner?
That's the biggest mistake I think business owners make. Quick one, Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. We are wanting to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode.
I said I'm going to create my own networking community. And so what I decided to do was, rather than have coffee with 20 people every week, the same people, and have 30 seconds, I would just have coffee with one person every week and have an hour. And then I would network with that one person.
And focus on that person.
Focus on that one person. And my goal after that would be to send them referrals without them asking. So I just built a different philosophy. And guess what? I got a ton of referrals in return. Never asked for one.
So you just
never asked for one.
You just invite them over for coffee and you have a chat.
Yeah. And we're just going to have a coffee somewhere. And then we would chat. We would ask about their story and ask about their life and ask about their business and ask them who are the sorts of businesses that you're looking for. And they would tell me, and I was like, great, well, I think I know a couple of people. I'd love to introduce you to some people. And then that would, it would happen months later.
Yeah.
I would get a referral, and I'd get really big, juicy referrals months later from, and I'd say, who referred you? And they'd be like, well, Dave referred me. And I'd be like, huh. And they said, look, Dave said he'd never worked with you before, but he said you're a good guy. And that's enough, right?
Yeah.
And that was a really big learning for me.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Is this how you're marketing yourself at the moment?
I'm doing lots of things. So probably 40 to 50 posts on LinkedIn a month. Email marketing. Running my own workshops. Running my own paid program. Referral marketing through cups of coffee. Sure. Doing that as well, going to networking events, and going to like events like the Marketing Club last night, me being at the event where we met has clearly worked, right? Because I met you.
Well, it was the interaction as well, and it was like checking you out online and seeing your work, and it's really impressive. So
yeah, I just think it's a ripple effect, but you have to be actually out there doing. You need to be creating the ripples, right? It's a big pond.
I want to get into, like, you're the market, you're on this podcast because you know a thing or two about marketing, and the people listening on the podcast who either are in business, wanting to grow their business through marketing and they're super confused, or maybe they've got their marketing sussed, they just want to do little tweaks, and they're listening in, trying to get those little tweaks from you, little expertise, insights. Or people who have not started anything and they genuinely just want to learn about marketing, or maybe wanted to do it for their own business. in the future or for their own company that they work for right now. So we're going to give people a ridiculous amount of value, I'm sure. And the things that you're going to be talking to us right now is not going to be spoken about anywhere else. It's kind of exclusive. So whoever's listening, you're in for a treat. So you just told me a whole list of things that you're doing to market your business.
Mm-hmm.
Can you list them again for me? Like, this is what I do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll actually get into each of them and actually ask you questions about that. And
Sure.
I'd love to learn a lot more about you as a business owner. You've had an amazing track record, but we'll get into the juicy stuff first for people who want to get a quick win from this episode.
Okay. So you want me to unpack my entire marketing strategy for other people to steal?
Now,
fine.
Would you?
Fine. Let's go there.
Would you like to list them for me in
Yeah.
order of what works most for you?
Sure.
Not telling us this is the way, but what works most for you.
So I'll flip the triangle upside down. That most people will start with this funnel concept of the broader part of their marketing, which is social media, etc. I'm gonna flip it upside down and go, what works for me best and fastest?
Yes.
In-person networking and conversations, right? So cups of coffee with people every single week is part of my marketing strategy, right? And that brings faster return for a higher investment in time. So I don't do it all day, every day, because there's a lot of investment in time. The next step up is email marketing. So I've got thousands of people in an email audience. I have a tendency to try and give them value as frequently as possible. So I give away all of my skills, all of my tips. I'm giving away 2 or 3 specific, I try to make them highly useful marketing tips on social every week. I summarize them and put them into email. Every couple of weeks, people get an email. The idea is they read the email and they go, that's useful for me. And he didn't ask anything. So I also have a no sales approach in my meetings and in my emails.
Do you not have a call to action at the bottom of your email saying?
So this brings out a philosophy towards the side of the strategy, right? So the philosophy that I have, particularly for B2B, where people are constantly cold calling you and hammering you for like, must do business with me because I'm amazing. So with B2B, one of my philosophies is give away as much as possible high value tips, tricks, build a huge amount of authority with your audience in order to gain permission to sell to them. And so sell very infrequently. There's lots and lots of numbers that people will ask. I heard Gary Vee say between 10 and 20 to 1, right? So what that means is between 10 to 20 pieces of high value content going out versus 1 selling. And so I look at it as permission selling. So a lot of people in email marketing will talk about permission email, right? Don't spam people, get their permission first. Once you have their permission to email them, honor that.
How do you get someone's permission to email? Do you say, do you want to be on my email list?
Yeah, so the simplest way...
How do you do that?
The simplest way, or the most effective way that I do that, is through doing live workshops, right? So I will put aside a couple of hours of my time. I'll take, let's say I've got 100% worth of my skills of the things that I sell, right? The knowledge I sell, I might take 5% of that, put it into a simple workshop, put that workshop into a Zoom session that I organise 6 weeks in advance. And then when I'm emailing people, I'm saying, like, come to my free workshop. You're going to learn A, B, C, and D around maybe email marketing or around social media or around creating website pages that convert. And so you give these little snippets of people for completely free, and that's really valuable. And it's also low-cost investment for them to attend a 45-minute workshop. Right?
And that way you get their emails later.
And then I think that's fair exchange
well,
for their email address.
So
right?
They have to give you their email to be able to sign up.
Correct.
And then you start emailing them afterwards. And then people, what's the percentage of drop-offs?
What do you mean by drop-off?
Unsubscribe from your mailing list.
So it's really fascinating. And when I say mailing list, I've managed my own mailing list, and then there's a bunch of other companies that I've worked with over the years. The drop-off goes up the more you sell, right? So my drop-off is quite low because I don't sell much, right? It's in the lower than 1% per annum. But if you're in a business where you are bringing in lots and lots of email accounts, maybe you're in business to consumer, so you're selling to consumers, and you might be running lots and lots of ads, bringing in thousands of email addresses every year, but you're also selling hard out at them as well, all on automation, then you might have 15-20% drop off, right?
What's an example of a hard sell that you should not do?
Connect with someone on LinkedIn and immediately dive in there and say, hey, I would love to have a meeting with you. Here's my meeting link. I have something that I want to talk to you about. That happens to me every week. I get at least one of those. No value provided. They haven't taken the time to actually find out who I am. 60% of the people who are trying to sell me something, when I look at their profile, when I take the time to look at their profile, they're trying to sell me marketing services, which is something that I'm pretty good at. And so I think the tactic is, just unresearched sales is just a dumb idea.
How have they done it differently?
On LinkedIn, make a connection, right? Send them a DM as soon as they connect. Thanks for connecting. Leave them alone. Give it a few days, put them on a spreadsheet. Give them a few days, go back onto their account, like something, comment on something, and do a thoughtful comment that's actually relevant. So if you can't think of anything, move on to the next person, right? Do a thoughtful comment, leave them alone. In the meantime, create something that's highly useful for them.
Like what?
Like a guide or a workshop. Right? So then...
How do you know it's useful for them?
Because
How do you know they need it?
So that really goes back to having a marketing strategy. So marketing strategy starts with understanding who is my target customer.
Gotcha.
Not some random person on LinkedIn, but someone who's actually highly likely to really want the thing that I sell. And then you take part of what you sell, particularly if it's a service or something like that, and you should be able to create some sort of guide or some sort of one-page piece of usefulness, right? Or a little mini workshop, or a little video that you've recorded, which is something that you've validated as highly useful because a lot of people liked it. You take that one thing, you're now 2 weeks into this process of knowing someone new on LinkedIn, and you send it to them. You say, hey, here's something I thought, a lot of people that I know over LinkedIn find this really useful. I'd love for you to have it. And if you've got any feedback on it, let me know. So what you've done over that period is you have created a safe environment because you haven't pitched them. So you're no longer someone that they're worried about. Hopefully they've liked something that you've sent them, or they've at least replied, right? And so now you have got a direct connection with them. And you've given them value again and again, right? You built this authority, so you built a place of safety with them, and you built also an authority of that you're really smart about something that they're not, right? But you haven't had to say it. You haven't had to pitch it all. Now they're going to see you as someone with authority. Now you could just leave them alone, or you could at some stage just say, hey, you could then come back to them and send them a message and say, hey, this is how I help companies like yours. Hopefully you've enjoyed the stuff I've sent so far. If you would like a meeting, I'd love to have that conversation. But don't send them a meeting request link, right? Just say, you're going to start a conversation with people, right? And if they're not interested in replying, move on to other people. Because I think humans need to feel valued, right? And if I'm a valuable potential client for you, then I want you to do a little bit of work. Like my subconscious wants to see the value, right? It's very similar to this kind of overused analogy of dating, right? I want to have a phone call with you. I want to your chat game on Tinder or whatever it has to be pretty good, right? I want to know that you've got some sort of charisma or interest. I want to go out on a date. I want it to be interesting. I want you to put some effort into me because I'm a human being who's worth something. So often in business, we forget that, right? That we're dealing with individual human beings who feel like they need to be given some self-worth.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. We are wanting to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. So this is what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's longer.
Yeah.
It's not immediate. Like, you're not going to be able to, like, it will take at least, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of, like, build up before you can actually start to engage. But it's, you do it softly. And I loved what you said, actually. It's quite helpful because, I mean, yeah, I'm sure people listening going sometimes, like, they think they just want to have a quick transaction and move on to the next person, right? So
yeah. Well,
but it's a relationship that's got to be built.
It's human relationships. And I think in order to be good at marketing, we need to listen. And one of the things that we all hear, if we take Facebook, LinkedIn, is people doing immediate outreach is really annoying. People selling at me hard out is really annoying. Me following someone and then getting a DM from them, which is selling a product or something, is really annoying. So I don't understand really why people don't listen to that more and change their own behavior around what can be done. And I think really this goes into a little bit of a philosophy that I have, which is I think a lot of the stuff that we see about marketing is from Reels and TikToks and kind of high performance, high spend marketers who are selling marketing programs. And they're bullshitting us, right? You might have to bleep that out. But I think they are training us to believe that all you need to do is do X, Y, and Z and get a viral reel, and then you'll get this magical, mythical payday. And the truth is, I know 6 people who've had viral videos this year, right? 6 individuals who I know personally, including myself. I've had 3.5 million views on a video in January, who have had 0 financial return from that virality. But we're being trained by marketers to think that that is the thing that we need to do, right? Is it's go viral and everything will be great. And that's not the truth. It happens occasionally, predominantly with consumer products brands, which for small business owners is not what most of them are into, right? And it's very, very difficult to go viral and actually keep holding it, right? It's just like if a music artist gets a really popular hit and it becomes number 1, the expectation arises from everyone who then listens to them going forward that their next song or their next album has to be a massive hit, right? The consumers are really rough. So this concept of virality is leading us all to focus on the wrong stuff, right? And if we focus on the wrong stuff, we're wasting a whole lot of time and money and leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to think of the many mistakes that people make in marketing, and the ones that, I mean, you just said that marketers are BSing us, and so that's a big statement because a lot of marketers are listening to this going, how dare you say that?
Sure.
I mean, you talk about yourself as a shoestring marketer, meaning that you, it says here on your LinkedIn, marketing consultant, trainer, coach who loves to bring huge results for teeny budgets. I mean, how teeny are we talking?
Well, so here's an example. I have a website, right? And I'm pretty sure any website developers who watch this or listen to this, who dive onto this website, which is shoestringmarketer.co, will look at it and go, it's pretty average, maybe crappy website. The website costs $9 a month US for me to host. That's bundled with email automation and email marketing platform for 2,000 contacts.
Is
right?
it what program do you
It's
use?
running on MailerLite, right?
Yeah.
Now, MailerLite's not the best product in the world,
Yeah.
but it's cheap,
I use that.
right? Now, I'm running a course and a program at the moment, right? Which is, I think I've probably collected on Stripe, over $20,000 in the last couple of months from it. On a landing page for my cheap MailerLite platform. Not SEO optimized, right? But all of the other marketing gears that I have aligned with this have enabled that page to do its job, which is to convert the human who already knew that I was authoritative in what I do, who already knew that I was a nice dude, who already knew that what I did was relevant to their business because of all of the other marketing activity that led them to that page. The page converts okay, right? And the content on the page is just photos and words. So when you say, what's my favorite hack, it's don't buy another $10,000 website until you have a defined marketing strategy, you really know who your customer is. And the other part of it is really try and get an opinion an external opinion from what people are pitching to you is something that we don't often do.
What do you mean?
So I ran a training program during COVID, right? We had about 20 business owners. It was 8 o'clock at night. And I said, and we're all on Zoom, and I said to, hands up, who's got a website? Everyone's hands up, all proud, right? I'm like, hands up, who's on their second iteration of that website. So they had a website before, now you've had a newer one. So keep your hands up. So a bunch of people had their hands up, maybe one went down, right? Hands up, keep your hands up if you're now on the third iteration of the website, right? And there was maybe a quarter of the people, right? Mm-hmm. So a quarter of the business owners that were in this marketing program were on their third website. And I said to them, keep your hands up if you've spent more than $20,000 on website development over that time. And all of them had. And I said, okay, so you've got a car, right, worth of capital invested in websites. Honestly tell me, how many sales have you had come through those websites? And most of them couldn't account for more than $1,000. And I said to them, why? Why did you spend all of that money on websites? And the answer that business owners give me is, I felt I had to do something, and that made me think that was a tangible thing I could do, was update my website. And people told me I needed to modernize, right? And so you take that story and you compare it to Stu's $9 a month website on MailerLite, which took 2 afternoons to make himself, because Stu invested in the skills necessary to use Canva and to take good photos and to write copy. And the ROI difference is phenomenal. And then imagine, anyone who's listening to this or watching this, if you've got a website proposal on your desk, and this is going to get me so much hate, right? I want you to think about if you were to take this $5,000 to $10,000 or whatever, and you were to throw that into Facebook ads, whether that would bring you more leads, or whether you were to put that to a direct salesperson who was going to phone 25 prospects a day in your area to get you cups of coffee. Or if you were going to put that into Google ads so that people searching in your area for your business type, right? And have you ever spent $10,000 on any of those other channels? And the answer is typically no, right? So there's this real lack of balance with small business owners. And I also want to say that I was that small business owner. I had a little tech firm back in 2004, and I was clueless and made all of these mistakes. And most of these mistakes come from not knowing what the big picture is to do with marketing, and so trying all of these satellite different things on their own. I literally just came from a meeting with a retail company who have They're just about to sign a contract with an influencer. They've tried Facebook ads. They've tried Google ads. They have a website. They do reels every week. They've done all of these other things. They have an email list, but they've never sent an email to anyone. Well, they have, but they've stopped doing it because it didn't work. So all of these little things that they've done in isolation that didn't work, but never once have they pulled them together into something that's a meaningful strategy.
Well, this is quite profound because the script is flipped from the $9,000 website and put that money into actually getting the leads into a website that actually works. What about if someone thinking, but I really want a nice website. I really want a nice, fancy, smooth, classy looking, good looking website. I don't want something tacky and low quality.
I would answer that with, I think your priorities are not data oriented. I think your priorities are about what you want to look like. So you're really just buying expensive clothing for your business, right? So as an example, let's say you spent, I've personally invested $50,000 in a website before for a business where it was a meaningful investment, where the competition was necessary to invest that sort of money. So please, website developers, don't hate on me about it. I just want money to be spent at the right time in the right place for the right reason, right? So the reason that you've put in front, which is I want my business to look more professional or sharper or cleaner, right, is not a reason based on much fact. If you were to say to me, well, those things, and I said, look, how many people are currently going to the website? And you said, well, 300 people a month. I'm like, how many people of those 300 are actually turning into some sort of customer? If you don't have those answers,
if there's none, what could you do?
Go and get a professional to look at the content on your website, update the photos, update the words. Right, that's going to cost you $1,000, right? Maybe $2 if at the most. Or go into a content course and learn how to do that yourself, and then be able to do it forevermore on your website without ever having to change the website platform, without ever having to engage in a website developer, just to really update things. I spoke to a young business owner the other day in a cafe. We're both ballet dads, right?
What's a ballet dad?
So like a dance mom, but a ballet dad, right? So our daughters are in ballet. We have to go to ballet 3-4 times a week. And so we go and work in cafes to keep our businesses going while daughters are in ballet after school. And so I was talking to a ballet dad the other day, and he had been told by a marketing strategist that his small business, that was really him and his dad, it's a two-person business, should be spending $60,000 a year on marketing through one company. And that was a phenomenal amount of money for this person to be thinking.
Yeah.
Right? And he didn't really have an idea of where that would be allocated by the marketing person. He was just told in a very authoritative manner that this is what all businesses need to be doing if you want to be serious about things. And I was blown away. I was like, how many ballet shoes is that going to be for your family? How many, right? And will he get $240K worth of new business from it? Right? Will he get 75% return on that money he's being told is invested? And he wasn't sure of that because he looked upon marketing, as so many of us have done, as this kind of magical, overly complicated thing that I don't get, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to get an expert in, and I'm going to believe everything they tell me. So my advice to him was like, maybe spend $1,000 with another marketing strategist to review what you've been pitched.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. We are wanting to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. Because if you're not getting like subscribers or people who would sign up to your, like, you know how sometimes people leave an ebook on their website. You've got an ebook on your website, have you? Or do you do these things? Or
I've done ebooks.
What's your view on leaving ebooks or leaving a checklist or leaving something of a value that you spend time to put together?
Sure.
That is kind of like a course, but it's not a course.
Oh, look, I had someone tell me the other day, oh, ebooks are dead. No one wants to read your ebook, right? You shouldn't do ebooks. You should do other stuff. And just last year, I think we had acquired over 2 years in a tech business in the States, 10,000 leads from webinars, ebooks, and guides only, right? 10,000. Now, the ebooks that we put out there, we invested a lot of time and effort to make them highly useful. So I don't think it really matters what you put on your website. I think what you should be thinking is, what can I make really quickly, which is really, really useful for my desired target customer? And take a step further. A lot of people talk about what problem can you solve. I'll take a step deeper into the persona of your target customer. Find a frustration that they have with your industry, right? So if you're a property manager, right?
What's the typical frustrations that you've come across?
The universal frustration. We do a lot of persona mapping exercises with clients. It's one of my favorite things. And what a persona map is, it's basically a drawing of your client in the middle. We put the client's favorite client in the middle, put their name. We do the demographic stuff of like, okay, what's their age and where do they live and that sort of stuff. And then we get into the psychometrics. What's their biggest frustrations in life? Both related to your industry and unrelated. The one biggest frustration that is on just about every persona map that I've ever done is I don't have enough time, right? The second biggest one, particularly in female personas in business to business, is I'm not valued enough. I'm not valued enough by my partner. I'm not valued enough by my boss. I'm not valued enough by my cat, right? By my colleagues, or even by my clients.
I thought you said by my cat. I thought,
well, I don't think
even the cat.
Well, I don't think cats value people very much. I have 2 cats.
Oh, cat people. Now
I have 2 cats, man, and they don't value us very much. But if you take the frustrations of I'm a really, really busy person, most businesses can say, well, part of what I offer, or the way that I offer it, or the process in which people can buy my thing, solves the frustration of not having enough time, right? We shorten it. So it could be something that, we come to you for X, right? And so if we want to turn that into this category of marketing that we're talking about, which is lead magnets, which could be a quiz, could be a workshop, or it could be an ebook, and it could be a 3-page ebook, not a 30-page ebook of 1990. It could be a 3-page ebook, right?
So ebooks are supposed to be shorter?
They could be as long as you want. Right.
What if it's 30 pages?
There's no rules. The mandatory rule is your target customer sees them as highly valuable because they solve a massive problem that they're aware of.
So it's not about is it about the pages of what you give them or how many questions you're going to ask in a quiz? It's about the relevance.
It's about recognizing that the end customer is going to really appreciate getting it for free. Right, so if we take that busy person in business, right, and we take the I don't know if I need a new website anymore. So website developers can give you a gift, right? So here's a ebook for website developers that we'll make up on the spot. So the persona is a small business owner who thinks they need a new website because they want it to be pretty, right? The website developer wants to attract those business owners, so one of the ways they could do that is with an ebook. So the ebook could be 5 ways to DIY your website photography. I think to make an ebook that people want to download and want to use, there has to be a lot of value in it. So I think if you take your target customer, generally people are on some sort of journey. If you are at the end of that journey and that they're going to pay you to do something or pay you to sell a product to them, that's usually to help them go from one step in their journey to another step in their journey. What a great ebook does is for free takes them on the first step, right? So let's say, again, what I'll do is I'll say, sorry, website developers, for slamming you earlier in the conversation. Let's give you guys an opportunity to get more clients with an ebook for website developers. So take the context of the customer who wants their website to look better because they want their business to look more professional and pretty. And so what sort of ebook, if I was a website developer, would I create? Well, one of the things that people will want for the website that the website developer probably won't do is photography. One of the things that the website developer might not do is writing copy. So maybe you could do the small business owner's guide to preparing photography for your website, where you might just collaborate with a photographer. You might have a 5-page book which just says, here's how to frame up the main pages. Here's how to get DIY your own profile about us page photos. Mm-hmm. Here's the orientation to put them in Canva. In fact, here, as part of the ebook, here's a Canva template hyperlink that makes it even more valuable for them to get going with their stepping stone towards having a new website. Now, by giving them that, you've verified to them that you know a lot about websites, so you've built your authority in their eyes, and you've given them something which has your brand on it. You can then email them a follow-up later on, which might give them here's a planning guide for choosing a website developer, right? And that planning guide just has a whole lot of questions that you need to ask website developers. Now, the fact that you're giving them guidance on how to choose a website developer lifts you at a higher authority level than other website developers because they're not doing these things. So in the eyes of that target customer, you will probably have a much higher preference of being their next website developer. And if you then email them further down the track and say, hey, I'd love to have a chat with you about website development, about website projects, I'm not going to pitch anything to you. I promise you I'm not going to try and sell you anything, but I see you've downloaded our ebook. I see you've downloaded the other one. Really curious if you want some advice around how to take the next few steps. And that's a more, particularly in New Zealand, right? With New Zealand, we don't like hard sell, right? We get really angry with that sort of thing. It's a really nice stepping stone for New Zealand web developers to start with an ebook, right? It's got to be really valuable.
Let's talk about workshops. Your favorite workshops. You run a lot of workshops normally, and like, what's the turnout? Is it like good to explain to me your turnout? Like, what do you have for your workshop? What do you offer? How long have you been running it for? What are some of the mistakes that you used to make for workshops now that you've learned not to make?
Ooh.
A lot of questions.
Okay.
So how?
So we'll talk about my workshops. I've done workshops with other companies as well, but they're one of my favorite ways of marketing. And so, strap in because there's a lot. So it is a little bit of a lottery with workshops, particularly webinars, around how many people are going to show up. But I think other than the humans that come into the room and watch and listen, there's a huge amount of value in a workshop over, say, an ebook or over, say, some of the other kind of lead magnet strategies out there.
Why is that?
So, number one, a workshop is you on camera giving your best to humans. It's way easier to record yourself on camera with audience there, talking to real audience, than it is talking to the dark, shark-like black eye of a camera and trying to record a video for your socials. So something you'll get out of a workshop is a recording of you doing your best work that you can slice into other pieces of content and put in your other parts of your marketing. So that's one bit of return that just comes part and parcel with doing a workshop. Getting people to your workshop is really about how much are you prepared to give away. That's ultimately what it is.
How do you know? You've someone who's an expert in what? Pick a niche.
Property management.
Okay.
Right.
How do you pick what you know? I mean, do you basically write an ebook and then from that ebook you create a workshop from that? It's like a content.
I do it the other way around, right? So for me, a workshop's actually not as much effort as an ebook, because I'm not a details person. So writing an ebook, if you want to write a really good ebook, you've really got to go through a few edits and variations of it. You've got to put a lot of time and attention into getting the copy right. It's got to be a really solid piece of work. A workshop is you getting on camera for an hour and talking to a bunch of your target customers.
But you have to really know what you're going to have to say.
Sure, but if you're in business, you need to really know if you're prepared to sell your thing.
Yep.
Right? So my response to that is most business owners I meet, particularly in services, will say, all I need, Stu, is to be put in front of someone and my conversion rate for sales is great because I know my stuff. Right? When I say to those people, why don't you do online workshops, webinars, those types of things, they'll come up with often will come up with a bunch of excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Those excuses are usually not about them not knowing their stuff. They're usually about, I'm not sure if I want to be on camera. I'm not sure if I look good enough for this sort of stuff. I'm not sure if I speak well enough for workshops, that sort of thing. And so my advice to those people is get over yourself, because if you can have a one-on-one conversation with people, you just need practice doing webinars. And when you're at a webinar and you've got all of these people there, you really are just presenting to a bunch of individuals. So it shouldn't be too much different to giving your best stuff in a coffee.
And the first one is always going to suck.
Maybe you'll
not.
Just smash it, right?
Yeah. If someone's listening now thinking, never done a workshop or have done a workshop but hasn't worked, what steps can they learn from you to plan something that will actually work, will have people turn up to that workshop and actually not just sign up and attend, but learn and love it, and actually a percentage of those will actually end up working with that person?
So, number one, you've got to have a great topic, right? So the number of people who register for your workshop is directly correlated to their reaction to your topic. So if you're to go out and learn anything as a DIY business owner, marketer, it's learn how to write headlines, right? And if you know who your target customer is and you know their hot points, so if we take the property manager, right, one of the hot points will be to do with tenants making messes or tenants misbehaving, right?
So the headline would need to be targeted with the pain point or a big problem with that niche.
So for property managers,
for property managers,
or it could be so the property manager's customer will be a landlord, right? So and the landlord then put it into management. So it could be that they're wanting to convert people who are self-managing their properties now to property management. So the sneaky way of doing that is to deviously teach them how to do it themselves, and then help them realize it's quite difficult, right? If you do the deal, so the workshop I would do for a property manager, and I've got someone coming on my program in a few weeks, Marina, so hopefully she'll listen to this too. So my DIY trick for a workshop for a property manager would be how to vet tenants that will not trash your property in 14 steps by insert name here, property manager.
Just to clarify, sorry,
right?
This is a property manager creating a workshop for homeowners.
Yes.
Why would a homeowner click on that? Just so that they can learn those 14 steps on how to...
Right.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. We are wanting to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode.
So the biggest fear, so if we're in marketing, one of the things we really want to look at is fears, and fears are realized and imagined. So realized fear is we had a tenant in there, the worst thing that happened is they just trashed the place, cost us $5,000. We took their bond, but that wasn't enough. We don't even know if we want to rent this place out anymore. It was too stressful. Right? So that's the problem that we're, right?
Yep.
Don't want people to trash it. Other landlords, people who own properties that they rent out, have heard all of those stories, right? They may not have experienced them, but they have the fear still. So how do you as a property manager get people to pay attention to your headline, highlight that you know how to solve that fear and deal with it in 14 steps, a very specific number, right? For tenants, and if you're going to be really smart about it, for tenants in Remuera or for tenants in Papatoe. So you go like a really specific area which is close to you.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, not tenants, landlords.
Yeah, landlords, yeah.
And so what you're doing there is they're going to come. A bunch of them are not going to be interested in your services because they're going to be complete DIYs, and this is part of marketing, right? But in your workshop, what you're doing is you're going through all of the 14 things. Saying, thank you for coming. This is who I am. This is what we do. I'm going to get on with the 14 things that I've promised to deliver to you, right? Step 1, you've got to do reference checking. Step 2, you've got to make sure that there's a solid contract. Step 3, you've got to do more reference checking. Whatever it happens to be, right? You go through all of the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make sure that you go through it in as much detail as possible. The people who use property managers are people who don't want to have to go through all of that detail. They don't want to own all of that. They want to outsource it, right? When they realize how much effort there is in the 14 steps, they're going to go, we need a property manager.
So it's the point of the workshop is to show them how difficult it is.
It could be, right? It's a tactic that a lot of people use, right? It's like, here, we're going to give you all of this information. We're going to show you how to do it. And we're going to demonstrate that it's actually not as easy as you think. And you've been doing it wrong for all these years.
You're not going to tell them that in the headline, though.
The headline is to capture their attention.
Headline is
right?
to solve their problem.
Yeah. And you can legitimately solve their problem. So yeah. I believe this is completely ethical because you're solving their problem.
But there's a realization at some point that for some people going, this is a lot.
And that's
to get it right.
And that's the key point for some people. Not everyone in every one of your webinars is a target customer. Some of them will never be target customers. I've had people that have come to some of my workshops 12, 13 times, right? Because I see them. And I know they're just DIYing, they're learning passively. They might be working away listening, right? Just like as if it was a podcast. And I'm cool with that. Because those people also, and I want to send a message to people who do workshops, those people who don't buy are not tire kickers. They are probably your next best referral, right?
How does that work?
So if you're educating people and they are not a competitor, right? So you're going to get competitors sometimes watching your stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's just someone who's just taking all of your free stuff, right? They're doing it for themselves. They're going to do it for their own business. But they're going to hear about other businesses and other people who have these problems, right? And they're going to have these conversations with people who say, hey, Dave, who do you know who can do website development? And then they'll be like, well, I went on this really great webinar with this guy, Phil, and he seems great. I've done my own website stuff because I'm a bit of a nerd. But, Phil's the person I know. I've been to 13 of his workshops, right? That's instant authority, right? That person's friend is not going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to Phil. And so that's another benefit of doing these workshops, legitimately giving people some knowledge. And I've got to really drop one of my favorite event tactics. Okay, so it could be online webinar, it could be a in-person meetup or an in-person seminar, and that is no shows. Okay, So you have a whole lot of people register, you might have 20 people register or 50 people register or whatever, and you're always going to have only a percentage of them show up, right? Some of the people who don't show up will send you a message saying, hey, sorry, I can't make it, appreciate it, whatever.
That's really nice of them. Many people don't do that.
Many people don't do that. The people who don't do that are the ones to message the next day or the same day.
What do you say?
Send them a DM, send them an email. Hey, first name, right? Hey, Mary. Sorry I didn't see you at my event. I really think you would have benefited from the content there. Would you like to have a cup of coffee and talk about it over Zoom? Right. Now, this is a little bit of a sneaky one, right? But I've used it really effectively over the years.
Hundreds of times.
You've got the person at a sense of a little bit of shame and a little bit of disappointment because they said they were going to do something and they didn't do it. And most people in business, most people out there in the world, we like to follow through with the things we said we were going to do. So it feels very awkward when that's called out. It feels even more awkward when it's called out in a really nice way.
So right? What do you say? Do you say, sorry, I missed you at the workshop. You feel like you missed it, and I'd love to have a coffee with you and do what?
Yeah. And maybe I can share some of the workshop content that might be valuable for you.
So I'll bring it to you in person. It's
right?
like VIP service. So they all feel important.
Yeah. And so what you're doing there is you're taking the shame and turning it into a positive energy, right?
Okay. And then what happens next?
The conversion rate on those emails is really high, right?
As in like them saying, yep. Let's have coffee?
For sure. Or I'm really, really sorry I didn't make it. I can't have a coffee, but can we do something over Zoom? But they become, you just bring them a bit closer. Because what you've done, in light of them breaking a social rule, you've been graceful. Right?
I'll still help you out in person if you want.
Yeah, and maybe you've been graceful in spite of it and you've actually gone up a level. Right? So you're proving generosity. You're proving a lot of things that, remember, if we go back to marketing is about turning strangers into people who want to work with you. Right? These are strangers. They all have fears that you might be some sort of, at the worst end, some sort of psychopath. At the best end, someone who, closer to that, someone who might rip them off. Closer to that, someone who might just let them down. Closer to that, someone who may not actually be what you're saying you are in terms of the skills. You might just not be good enough, and they might be left in the same situation they were at the start of this process.
Is that what's going on in their heads?
Of course it is.
Before wanting to work with you?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
With anyone, right? So if you're going to look at a new physio because you have an injury, it's like, are they weird? Right? We have all of these unconscious thoughts that we say about someone who we haven't met before, right? And so it's up to the marketer or the business owner or the person who's projecting out who they are to solve that problem and overcome their fears. And you do that by predicting their fears first. And this is where that persona mapping stuff comes in, because you write down all of their perceived fears, and then the content that you put out might be in your webinar, might be in your emails, might be on your website, or it could be in everywhere. There's words on there that are literally written to offset the fear.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Sub 60 Courier is one of the best brands out there.
Oh, sorry?
Sub 60 Couriers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Their brand says, we will get it to you in under 60 minutes. Right? It's complete risk reversal. Because one of the risks and fears is, I have a thing that I need to send. I don't know if it'll get there today. Their brand says it immediately. Right? That's now they're at the high end of the cost spectrum versus all of the other courier companies. But that's where they sit. Right? They're a premium service because they get it there very, very fast. So you pay a premium for it. But their brand speaks to that fear immediately.
The fear of
it not getting there in time. Okay. If I want to ship something to someone that's really important, if I'm a business and we've forgotten a delivery and we've got to send it to someone, so many New Zealanders know I'm going to put it on sub 60, right? Because I know it's going to get there in time because their brand is saying it, right? And so that's marvelous marketing right there. And in between all of that, there's other ways to reverse risk, such as, publicising brutally honest customer reviews, so publicizing the good and the bad.
So back to the sub 60,
Yeah.
what is it about the, I don't know, there was supposed to be an example about how do you include content to address fears of, are you going to actually, can you go over that again with a sub 60 and just help me understand?
Sure.
How do you address someone's fear of the things that is going on in someone's head before they work with you? Are you going to deliver the service? Am I going to be in the same position as I was? Are you actually going to help me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So you have to really, in order to offset the fears, you really have to get into the head of your customer and identify what are the specific fears that come up most often.
Are you going to deliver the service?
Right. So are you going to deliver the service? Right. So the basic, most immediate one is a guaranteed time frame or a guaranteed delivery quantum of some sort. So delivered within a certain period of time or delivered to a certain level of quality with teeth or a money back guarantee or something, okay. Right? And so that's one way to offset it. The brand that does it best that I think, that comes to mind so quickly, is they do it at the very top. They do it with their brand name, and that's sub 60 couriers. There's hundreds of courier companies that we can choose from. There's really, really large ones. There's really cheap ones. And we can put stuff onto an Uber now, right? We can use them as a delivery. But there isn't any guarantee. Sub 60's guarantee is on their brand. And it's actually not a guarantee. It's actually a brand promise, not an actual guarantee.
Like the name sub 60.
Yeah, so sub 60 says below 60, which all of their other marketing has led the marketplace to know that means in less than 60 minutes. So when you need something delivered to people quickly, their brand has built this brand presence and this authority of going, I'm going to intuitively choose them now because their brand has delivered on it.
How can a business owner dispel the fear without having to change their tagline or brand name?
Sure. So that's all in the subsidiary messaging. So you've got your brand and you've got your tagline and all of those other things. And let's remember, marketing is multiple conversations with individual humans over a multitude of different channels, right?
Okay.
So I've got my website, so I can be putting testimonials on there. The testimonials that I choose to put on my website could be related to the fear, right? So when you're asking for testimonials, as an example, rather than saying, can you just give me a nice testimonial and say something nice about me? Right? Wrong way of going about it.
Yep.
When you ask for a testimonial, and I was talking to a wonderful video testimonial guy yesterday called Michael, what I recommend is when you're asking for a testimonial, say, look, can we have a meeting? I would love to just organize a testimonial, right? In that meeting, treat it almost like a podcast interview. And this is a trick that Michael gave me last night. He's like, start with a story, right? Tell us where you were before you met us. What was the situation in your business, right?
And I'm going to write that down.
And you're recording this, right? You're recording the whole thing. Start with a story. Where were you before you met us? What was the situation that led you to pick the phone up or go online and look for our service, right? When you looked at us, why did you choose us, right? Tell me the experience of talking to our team or talking to me that led you to decide to go with us and take a punt on us over everyone else that you saw. Right?
That's the money part here.
Could be.
Okay.
We did the service, we did the thing, we delivered the goods, clearly, because you're still a great customer and we love you. Tell us, after we delivered the service, and you started off at this point where things weren't great, so you had to go out and look for our thing. Tell us, how did you feel as a result of us finishing that stuff for you, right? And then the last question, which is the generic question, if you were to recommend us to people, specifically, what would you say to them? So instead of saying, again, hey, can we have a testimonial? You take them through that little story. You can do that in 15 minutes. You can record it on Zoom. It doesn't need to be a video testimonial, but you get the word for word, and you take little snippets of those words, and they become the proof with the person's name that you put on your website, you put onto your social posts, you put into your emails, You scatter around
Right. Yeah.
in the journey that the customers take towards you. And you are then consistently, with real words, not made up words, right? Which people have a really good filter for these days, right? And emotional words. Like what you want in these types of fear reversal testimonials and this sort of feedback is, we were flabbergasted. We couldn't believe you could do it so quickly, right? We actually took a punt on you because we wanted to go with a big safe company, but there was something about how you treated me in that meeting that made me choose you, right? Now, you're never going to get this out of a customer unless you ask them good questions.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why those questions that you were telling me just before were really gold.
Yeah, they are, right? Because then you're going to get emotion out. And this is a fundamental thing in marketing that is forgotten, is that we're dealing with emotional creatures and we think that they're logical.
That's the biggest mistake I think business owners make, including myself.
Yeah, sure. So we throw logic at them because that's safe, right? It's like,
Makes sense.
Right? But the reality is the best content that we ever see in marketing touches an emotion, touches an emotional trigger somewhere.
Yeah, and
right?
if someone is really have a bit of a challenging time with touching that emotional side, how can they tune into that more?
Talk to your customers, right? If you ask your customers the right questions, they're going to give you the answers that actually talk about how their world was changed. And outside of the logic stuff, don't talk about, if you're an accountant, don't talk about was the P&L, something that the customer doesn't know about is like, was the P&L a good P&L? They don't know if it was a good P&L. What they know is...
Just in case someone who doesn't know what P&L is.
A profit and loss schedule, right?
Thank you.
So, if you're an accountant and you're talking about profit and loss, and you want to talk to your customer, ask them about feelings. Again, how does it feel to know that you have got control of your business for once, right? Because we have all the numbers lined up for you and you know it's accurate. How does it feel to know that your bills are paid on time? Because that mess that we've sorted out means that you know that what your cash flow looks like. How does it feel to know that you can hire that person because the cash flow model supports it? What does that mean to you as a business owner? You ask these sorts of questions to your customers around how does it feel, what's different now than it was before we started working together, and your customers are going to give you gold. And one of the things I say to customers is when you hear that gold from your own customers, you have to ask them, can I use that? This is a marketing discipline that you need to build in. I really loved what you said. I've just written it down. Can I please use that in my marketing and put your name next to it? I just think it's the sort of thing that people need to hear. And then you're going to get amazing words for your copy and for your marketing people and for your website and stuff, because it's emotive and it's real. And all of the strangers, we go back to that stranger place, they're going to see this and see what's different about you because your customers are speaking for you.
Do you have to ask permission before you do the testimony or after about sharing it as a marketing tool? I
think you should. Well, it depends on how it comes up. So if you're going to do a testimonial, I think it's prudent to let the customer know that that's why you're having the conversation, right? Because that gives them an opportunity to say, well, actually, things haven't been great lately. Can we work on some service level stuff first before we go down that track? And that's good feedback for any business owner, is to know that a customer's not quite ready, right? They might not be quite ready just because they just don't like their name out there. And you got to honour that.
So how useful is that testimony?
You don't take it. Don't ask for it if they don't want it, right? So
I
think you should ask for permission before you have the conversation.
Before you ask, yeah.
But I think most business people have a reasonably high amount of trust and conversation with their clients if they're doing a good job. And so when something comes up in those conversations, so if you're a business coach and you're giving someone some coaching, I don't think there's anything wrong by hearing a customer say something and saying, hey, can I just pause for a second, write that down? And would it be okay for me to share your words in my marketing? I think this is the sort of thing people need to hear. You're asking for permission at the same time. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've had moments where I've written it down and then gone back later and gone to the customer via email, hey, that meeting was great. I took away a bunch of things. Here's my action points. By the way, you said this thing. Can I please use it in my marketing? It's really powerful. I think a lot of other people should hear it. And so if you notice the tone that I'm saying, it's not like that's going to help me in my business and I'm going to get more sales and get rich and go and retire. It's actually, I think more people like you should hear this. Right? So you're actually projecting their words out into a higher purpose than you making money from their testimonial.
Awesome. Well, Stu, I would have loved for this to keep going, but we're going to have to pause on here. We may have to get you back on sometime in the future.
I'd love to.
Yeah, thank you. It's been such a pleasure and honor to have you on, and I love this conversation. I didn't realize how much I would have enjoyed talking about marketing. You made it fun.
I've made a convert.
Yeah, you made it fun for sure. And so how can people can reach out to you if they wish?
So my favorite way of people connecting with me is find me on LinkedIn, and you just search up Stu Lees, STULEES. You can also look at my website, which is shoestringmarketer.co.
Fantastic. Thank you, and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.